Let's start with Omkara. O. O. My pranams to all. Slowly open your eyes. So continuing the story of Hemaleka and Hemachura. So what has happened till now is that Hemachura, Hemaleka has observed that the husband is possessed by sensual experiences, and she wants to transmit wisdom. She wants to teach him, but she cannot directly tell him that you have to learn from me. I know better than you. So she behaves in different ways to make him question. And then when he questions, she posts some questions to him, very fundamental questions about his experiences and what kind of beliefs and concepts he carries. So because she hits the root, Hemachura shakes. She's able to shake him because she's able to penetrate and go directly to the root, directly to the root of his thought process. Okay, and this, when he's shaken, he understands what is happening. Still, he is not able to see that he needs to seek from her. He comes back with questions. Then in the chapter that I'm taking now, the previous chapter to this, she tells a story, a very long story. I'll not get into the story, but it's a story which has a profound meaning, and the meaning of which she'll reveal in the next chapter. Okay, so I'll talk about the story briefly in the next chapter, the next session, where she tells the meaning of that story. But it seems like a very absurd story. Okay, it seems like there's no meaning to it, but it has deep inner meaning. Hemachura listens to the story. He's not able to understand it, and he goes back and says, definitely you are a village woman, because no intelligent person can tell stories like this and think it is true. Then he tells a story which also doesn't make sense. Okay, so he's thinking that this is just a mental game that we are playing. You're throwing out something. You're throwing out he thinks it's like an argument. She's throwing out a point of view, and when there's no logical point of view, she's creating something and she's putting it forward. So I'll also do the same thing. Okay, and he does that. Then she again gives examples. Okay, she does this process of putting forward an illogical story, but with a deep meaning which he doesn't know yet. And when he counters with the illogical story himself, then she catches hold about the process that is happening right now, which is a logical discussion. She tells the importance of the guru. She tells it is very, very important to have the right sort of discussion. Otherwise, people get into all sorts of meaningless logic. Even logic, you can keep circling. There's no end. You know, it's just another mind game. So she tells another example of a rishi called Kaushika, who had many students, and one day they invited another person called a logician called Sunga, and this person is a Shunyavadi. Shunyavadi means nihilism. So his approach is there is nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Shunya. Not that there is consciousness, but even if there is a consciousness, that is also empty. There is nothing. And it so happened that many of Kaushika's disciples, who were students of Vedanta, got misled, and they became followers of Sunga, and they lost their way. But there were some students of Kaushika who were able to still somewhere hold on to the truth, where this still doesn't add up. Consciousness cannot be nothingness. So they stayed back with Kaushika, and then they all attained Atmana. So she gives a story of Kaushika and Sunga to explain to Hemachuda about what is the right approach. You need to have a proper discussion, and that discussion has to be in tune with the Shastras. Okay, and ultimately, all of that has to be distilled for you by whoever is your guru. Okay, at this point, he still not accepted her as his guru. Now, in this chapter, he's now open after all this story and reasoning. He's able to see that, okay, this person she knows what she's talking about. And now he's proactively and sincerely asking questions. Because we know now all the questioning and the line of all the discussions have completely disturbed him. He's gone into isolation. He's not doing the usual activities. Somewhere something has changed, definitely. And Hemaleka thinks that she knows for sure that it's because of the divine grace of the mother, Tripura Devi, that this is the effect. Otherwise, there would not be this change. There is this change because he has understood what has been told so far. Okay, it is not just gone from one ear and gone out of the other. It has had its impact. And what is the impact? The impact is now he's neither able to enjoy, neither able to study the Shastras. He's stuck, and every time he goes to enjoy, he's reminded of these words. Every time he goes back to do self-study, he still is in a conflict. So he's in a confused state right now. But he knows the previous experiences and his previous life. When I say previous life, just the life before having all this discussion with Himaleka, that definitely there's a problem with that. Okay, but what is the new, he doesn't know. What doesn't work, he has understood. What is the problem, he's understood. He has understood that there is no such thing as permanent happiness. Objects cannot give happiness. He's understood all his endeavors will eventually fail. And the peace of mind he will not be able to find with any of this. That he has understood. But what will give me the peace? What is that will fulfill me? That he doesn't know yet. So the conversation continues. So in today's discussion, in the last class I told about, they discuss about the human mind, where Himaleka tells him it's all because of the human mind. The problem is the thought patterns. Now these thought patterns with wrong teaching, wrong association, can go into an endless loop. Okay. But with the right teaching, with the right guidance, they can become free. With the wrong teaching, the mind becomes an enemy. With the right teaching, with the right association, the mind becomes a friend. Okay. And then eventually the mind is transcended. So how does this happen? She's trying to tell him now the steps. How does this transcending the mind happens? She tells, because he's a prince. A prince is somebody who's on the top, right? And somebody who's on the top always wants to stay on the top. And to stay on the top, there are so many people who are working for him to stay on the top. So there's an army, the soldiers who's protecting the kingdom. Then there are hundreds of servants. For everything, there's a person. There is somebody to take care of your needs. Okay. Then there are ministers. And then there are royal guides, teachers, gurus. Then there is alliances from nearby kingdoms. And the king, the prince, the person on the top, is overseeing all of this, is overseeing the work of all the people under him. This Himalika targets. She takes the example of this and she talks about action. She gives an example. See, anybody, so you're the king, you're here on top, somebody's at the bottom. Now, how will this person grow? Okay, and you have seen such people growing through their personal individual effort. They put effort, then they grow, they are rewarded. They put effort, then they're rewarded. So she tells Hemachuda, the right effort is very, very important. Okay, because that's the language he understands right now. He tells, because he's now seeking, right? He wants what is the truth. Okay, and she doesn't want, just because right now she's told him that logic and wrong discussion can mislead. So the teaching of drop action given at the wrong time can also mislead. Okay, so the teaching of for Atmagana, no actions to be done. That is absolute. But it is given to whom it is given to, in what dialogue it is given, at what time it is given, matters a lot. And that is the importance of a very good teacher. It cannot just be told arbitrarily. Okay, so it's like this in the school system, right? When you're in the primary school, there is a set of disciplines. Then when the child, and in school, in the high school, the discipline is little reduced, but still there is discipline, uniform and a line. Okay, there's still some discipline. The moment people go out of school, when go into university, many of those discipline rules are suspended. Okay, because now people understand that the mind is matured. The mind is matured enough to understand what is right, what is wrong. And still, if it is choosing wrong, it also understands that there will be consequences. But a child doesn't understand those consequences. You give the child too much freedom. Okay, and if it harms itself, it doesn't understand the consequences. When it does understand the consequences in the future, it will blame you why you didn't stop it and impose restriction. You understand? So the same child which chose something wrong because there was absolute freedom, got into trouble, but later when it's able to appreciate the situation, it will come back and complain that you should have confined me. You should not have let me go. Okay. So here, Himalika is emphasizing on individual effort. She's telling to get the higher first, and she's telling step by step. Okay, this is not the end. In this whole chapter, she covered end to end. First step she tells is, so she's already spoken about master. That is basic, a realized master. Okay, without realized master, what is the path? What is the direction? What is the right? What is wrong? What is scripture? Nothing is understood. That is the basic foundation. After that, there is an individual effort required, she says. And she gives the example of the people in the kingdom. That if somebody has to grow, they have to put individual effort, then they are rewarded, and then they grow. Then she gives the example of the farmer. If the farmer has to put right effort, at the right time, he has to put the seeds, then of course the universe will cooperate, and then there's a harvest. So the right effort is very important. Individual effort is what will take you to the next level, she says. And again, she wants, while you're doing the individual effort, don't get distracted with useless discussions. So somebody who wants to achieve something through effort, one thing this person has to avoid is distractions. Okay, so you're putting individual effort, you're focused. Then if somebody get deluded, she says, when you have chosen the path of effort, completely be sincere to it and put your best individual effort. And then what happens when you put individual effort? Now she talks about, now she goes to the next level. She changes gear. Now it's in the first gear. Okay. Second gear is what? So if you put effort, why are you putting effort? For some result. Now she tells,
Guruji, it is stuck, isn't it, Prasadji?
are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, it froze for a few seconds, Guruji.
ಇವಾಗ ಬರಲ್ಲ?
ಇವಾಗ work ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ.
Okay. So after the individual effort, now she's talking about the result. And she says the result will always come. If you put the right individual effort, okay, in any aspect of life, you put sincere effort, you will always get the desired result. She also talks about exceptions. There are some exceptions that you put the best effort, but things, the result has not come. But she tells, don't worry about that. That rarely happens. If you're putting sincere effort and you're going the right direction, the desired result will definitely come. Something very similar Sri Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita also. Neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamas apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Meaning, neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Sri Krishna goes on to tell that forget about lot of effort, individual effort. Even a small amount of effort on the path of dharma will destroy the greatest of the greatest fear. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a very small effort that you put in the field of dharma, that will give great fruit. But here she's not talking about, here she's talking about, because she's starting with the example of his citizens, she's giving a very worldly approach. She's not yet talking about dharma. She's talking about any effort to grow in life. You want to make money, you want to be successful, put your effort. Put forward for your effort. So she's giving him what? An empowering belief. Okay? That it is in your hands. Why does the king need to know this?
Because for him, it's all about a certain level of achievements.
For him, everybody else is taking care of everything for him. His individual effort is only making sure others put their individual effort. Okay, he's still not matured. This prince is not matured enough to understand he can create something out of individual effort. Okay, सब कुछ आया है उसके पास. It came to his lap. The kingdom came to him. Just because he's born to the king, he became a prince. What has he got out of individual effort? What has he done? Everything is inherited, right?
So in some way he has not put a conscious effort and got the result. So he doesn't know that an effort can give a result.
Yeah, in his whole life he's never experienced that he can build something. Whatever he got. So the story started with him being in the forest. Okay, where is he's hunting. All of that is simply a simulated environment. Okay, so you see, right? All these celebrities are there, their children are there. Whatever they do, the media blows it up. Even if they sneeze, they will put it on the front page of the news. Okay, oh, this person went here, this person fell down, this person ate to the restaurant, this person was wearing this dress. Okay, they live in a simulated environment where, please understand, their brain and an ordinary brain is very different. In their brain, okay, for everybody is the center of their universe. That feeling everybody has. I am the center of the world. But there it goes to a psychotic level. Okay, every small thing they feel as if it matters to the whole world. Right? So the king, this prince is operating from is in a similar situation. He doesn't know that individual effort, about sincere individual effort and the process of getting the result. Okay, so and here it's a topic that he doesn't understand. It is something that it is a terrain that he doesn't know. Okay, and now she's setting the rules. He's telling that you have to put your individual effort, then you get the result. Now, who's the one who gives the result? So she again asks him, you're a prince and you have so many servants. Just an ordinary prince like you, if you are pleased with the servant, what will you do? The servant is working very well. Okay, very sincere, is very genuine, okay, it's very hardworking, and you're able to see it. What will you do? The prince says, I will reward him. Yeah, I will reward him. She says, yes, the same thing Bhagwan does, Ishvara does. If you put your sincere effort, that Ishvara, you ordinary prince, can recognize your servant and give him some reward. Don't you think the Ishvara, who is the Lord, will recognize, who knows each and every being in and out, will recognize the person and give them the reward? Okay, so she's building confidence in him, that this is not a waste activity. So she tells him that it is this Ishvara who gives the reward. Then there are a lot of doubts that he'll have, that she can already see. That how every time somebody puts an individual, that I see so many people who are not getting it. How does that work? Then she clarifies that. She tells, if you are really putting your individual effort, and if you're truly you have devotion to the Ishvara, and if you're working, know for sure that you will never fail. Okay, so much so that even if the stars are against you, okay, even if your prarabdha, even if your predestiny, okay, something is already destined, even if something is already destined, Ishvara will change that for you. Okay. Now she tells a very specific story. Example. She tells the story of Markandeya. Do you all know the story of Markandeya? So there's a rishi called Mrikandu Rishi. He and his wife are devotees of Shiva, and they don't have a child. Then they pray to get a child. Brahmaji appears. Brahmaji tells, I'm pleased with your devotion. You will have a child, but you have to make a choice. Okay. You can either get a child who will live for 100 years, but he'll be an idiot. He'll be a fool. Or you can get a child who will only live for 16 years, but he'll be a gnani. Okay, make the choice. Then, because this couple is wise, they choose. Okay, even if it's for 16 years, it's okay. But we want a bright child, a gnani. Then the child is born. The child's name is Markandeya. Markandeya is an extraordinary devotee of Shiva. Okay, he's always immersed in Shiva Puja. And the gnana flows like Ganga from his mouth. Okay, whenever he talks to, even when in the childhood, if he talks to somebody, his words of wisdom flow out from his mouth. Then the time comes, he's 16 years old. The Yamadutas come to take him. When the Yamadutas come to take him, Shiva himself comes and alters the predestined statement. And he blesses Markandeya with a very long life. Even the Lord of Death, Yama, is not able to do anything. So when Yama tries to put the noose on Markandeya, it goes and falls on Shiva. Okay? Who is Mrityunjaya? Have you heard? There's another name for Shiva called Mrityunjaya. The noose is gone on somebody who ordains death. Okay? So death cannot catch Shiva. Shiva is beyond death. And Shiva is beyond death. And whoever Shiva puts his hand on, they become Mrityunjaya. Okay. Now, what was Markandeya's Prarabdha? His Prarabdha was only 16 years. But even the Prarabdha, okay, which is said to be set in stone, right? For consciousness, there is no such thing as stone. In consciousness doesn't understand stone, solidity. Consciousness only understands concepts. Okay. In consciousness, predestination is a concept. It's not a reality. That is why it said, the Shastras tell, what Brahma writes in his right hand, the Guru erases with his left foot. Okay. The Guru is supposed to be Shiva. Shiva is Adi Guru. Whatever is predestined. What is predestined? Your genes is predestined. Okay, the genes comes with diseases. Okay, your life, some events in life is predestined. And what else? Your thought process is predestined. Practically your whole life is just something that is predestined. You are living it out. It's already there. It's like a storybook. It's like a book. The lifetime is like a book. It's already there. You're only going through it every page, one day at a time. Okay. You don't have the ability to go fast forward to the next page. You can only see it as the day comes. Okay. But there's somebody who is making the rules. Okay. He knows how the book is made. He knows who wrote it, and he knows how to change it. He knows when to change it also. And that he is this Himalaya is talking. Now she's talking about Maheshwara. She tells there's somebody called Maheshwara. Maheshwara is the Lord. And whatever you put your effort, you be devoted to him. Whatever is predestined against you, he will bless you and you will be uplifted. You will become free. Your worst predestination is to be stuck in Maya. Okay, it is not that you will go through something, some event will happen. That's not predestination. The predestination is to be stuck in ignorance, and that is uprooted by the grace of Ishvara. Now she tells, this person, the moment she talks about Maheshwara, the king is able to relate. Because what was the correlation she made? You is to your subordinate is equal to Maheshwara is to person putting his devotee. Okay. Now that means she's equated him to Maheshwara. Now who's that? Hemachura is asking, who is this Maheshwara? Who is this God? Please tell me. Because I have heard so many names. He tells there's Shiva, there's Vishnu, there's Ganesha, there's Narsimha, there's so many avatars. Then there is Devatas, Agni, Vayu, Indra. Who is God? Okay. She tells whom should, because he doesn't know. He doesn't want to make a mistake. I should not waste my time praying to the wrong God. So tell me specifically which God, and I will be devoted. Who is this God? Okay. So who is God? Prasadji, who is God? Or what is God?
The creator.
The creator. Creator is God. Creation is an action, right?
No, the creator.
The creator is God. Okay. Isharji, who is God? What is God? What is God? Is that the answer, or is that yes or no? Huh?
I don't know. I'm thinking. In some way, we can say it's a name and form given to Brahman.
Name and form given to Brahman. Okay.
As it is perceived in general.
Okay. But what is it really? What is God?
Parabrahman.
Parabrahman is God. Okay. Sumanji?
Parabrahman, I don't know. He's a God. He is what it is. That's all. We can only tell he is God. Otherwise, he is what he is.
He is what he is. Okay. Sumanji, who is God? What is God? What will you tell a child? If a child asks, what is God? What will you tell the child?
It is just that guiding force.
Guiding force.
Sort of, maybe it's like, if you do the right thing, you'll get the right efforts. I mean, right results. To get the right results, you just do for that force.
Okay.
Sometimes I tell that to Satvik, do your karma. Krishna will give you your results. So sort of that force, so which drives you to do the right actions, right dharmic things.
Okay. So God is a force that makes you do the right thing. Okay. Veena, what is God?
Yeah, earlier I used to have the same definition, like guiding force, and But now, after attending your sessions, Atma Darshana session, that definition also changed. I can't even say God is he or she. Maybe just absolute consciousness.
Okay, what does absolute consciousness mean? See, when when I ask the question, what is God? Let's say I ask about some great freedom fighter, okay, who genuinely laid down the life for the country. Okay, somebody very inspiring. Then what will you say? You will talk about the glory of that person, right? But when I ask who is God, there is no sense of magnitude.
Yeah.
Okay, but God is magnanimous. God is infinite. God is beyond whatever is in your realm of understanding. You talk about it with such glory. Stupid of the stupid things. Okay. Oh, artificial intelligence. Oh, so it becomes a buzzword. Okay. All meaningless things people talk about with such interest and such glory. Okay. Some technology, some place. This is such a beautiful place. I went to the most beautiful place on the planet. Okay. Some experience. Everything that is in your experience and understanding, you associate so much glory to. But you fail to associate the due glory and respect and love from whom all that comes. Okay, that's the mistake the human mind makes. First of all, first thing to understand is God is, so there is something that you can understand and there's something that you cannot understand, and God is something you cannot understand, that you'll never be able to understand. The mind can never understand what is God. But does that mean it's not there? Life is not just, or existence is not just things that I understand. Existence is beyond the things that I can understand also. Okay. So God is that totality, that existence, which I will never be able to understand. Okay. All we can say is God is that totality. God is the total existence. And how is that existence? And this is exactly what Himalaya is saying. She's explaining God to Hemachura, and she says, first thing she says is, he is Maheshwara. Okay. And she gives the example of the Shiva with 5 faces. There's a Panchamukhi Shiva. Okay. The Panchamukhi, there are 5 faces. 5 faces have 5 names, and each face has a function. Shrishti, Sthiti. Shrishti is creation. Sthiti is maintenance. Samhara is destruction. Tirodhana is Maya. Moksha is liberation. So this 5-face Shiva has 5. He performs 5 functions. One, he creates. Okay. And how is his creation? She tells Hemachura that even to create, you have this palace. To create anything meaningful, beautiful, a lot of intelligence is required. Now imagine this whole world. It is so you cannot comprehend it, and it works perfectly with such intelligence. And who must be the creator of this? Definitely, she tells, definitely there is a creator. There is no doubt about that. If there is a creation, and if it's an intelligent creation, Definitely there's a creator. There's no argument in that. There's no doubt in that. Definitely there is a creator. But the only mistake that people make is when trying to understand that creator, there are various mental concepts built on the creator. But the creator is beyond any conceptualization. The creator is, this creator is Maheshwara. He creates, he also sustains the creation, and when it's time, he destroys it. And he also puts a veil of Maya. Everybody are under the veil of his Maya. How she gives an example of a juggler. There is a juggler in the court. There's a magician. Momentarily, he puts people under his spell. Okay, you're not able to catch his magic. How is he able to do it? In the same way, the Lord is like the grand magician who puts you in Maya. And at the same time, when it's the right time, he comes as a guru, Ishvaro Guru Atmeti, and performs the fifth function, which is moksha. So God is, and she explicitly tells this God that I'm talking about, Maheshwara, is formless. Okay, because why she's telling this? Because he gave examples of, he named some gods which he's able to visualize, and there's a name and form: Vishnu, Ganesha, okay, Indra. But she's telling, I'm talking about the Supreme, and the Supreme is formless. She's not yet gone to Parabrahma yet. Okay, she's talking about Maheshwara. She's talking about the Lord of the universe. So whenever we use the word God in Sanatana Dharma, if that word is used in the context of Sanatana Dharma, it always refers to Maheshwara. Okay. Otherwise, mind has various concepts about God. When I was in school, there was a very nice poem in the English textbook. Somebody goes and asks an insect, what is God? The insect tells, the ant tells, God is nothing but a giant ant. Okay. And he has all these powers. Somebody goes and asks the lion, what is God? The lion says, the God is a golden lion. Okay. Then somebody goes and asks the human, what is God? The God is a human, but with powers. So whatever you understand, you try to superimpose on this Maheshwara. So she tells, none of this. God is the supreme intelligence. The very word she uses, and you have to mind you, this book, I don't know how long ago it was written. The word she uses for Maheshwara is pure intelligence. God is pure intelligence that operates the whole seen and unseen universe. What it is, you cannot understand. Okay? But that understands you. And that is always with you, taking care of you, and responding to you constantly. So she tells, be devoted to this Maheshwara. He will take care of you. He will bless you. And you will be able to transcend the mind. So Lord, she says, is pure intelligence. And what kind of intelligence? It's no ordinary intelligence. The whole universe, she says, is so perfect and intelligent that even the slightest change will make life impossible. Okay, so the gravity is so perfect. If it changes little, if it becomes too much, then everything will fly away. Planets, stars, nothing is sustained. If it becomes too less, life is not sustained. Okay? Everything in the creation, the electromagnetic forces, they're all at the right node. Slight change and it disrupts life. So who is the one who's built such a perfect universe and who's maintaining it? Okay, and who's taking care of all living beings is Maheshwara. Okay, is that supreme reality, and that supreme reality is God. Okay, God, the glory of God. It's very hard for even God. It's not the problem of the mind. The question, what is God, is very hard for God himself to answer. Because any answer doesn't do justice. So in the Bhagavad Gita, when Sri Krishna shows his Vishwarupa Darshana, he tells Arjuna, you will not be able to see this with your eyes. You need special eyes. And then he shows him the Vishwarupa Darshana. But is that God? That is still only a spark of his glory. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam Srimad Urjitameva Tattadeva Avagachatvam Mama Tejom Sa Sambhavam. Krishna tells, whatever glory you see in the universe, okay, science glorifies a lot of things. Okay, there's glorious technology, there is beautiful nature, planets, stars, galaxies. All of this glory is only but a spark of my glory. If it is a spark, to understand the whole, the spark itself we don't understand. The spark we appreciate, okay, it's a spark. The way we understand the spark is by generalizing it. Okay, it's glorious. Okay, you never go into the details. You never go into the details for how it is big, what is the comparison, where do I stand in comparison to that. Okay, if all that is seen, your head will blow. Right? Just about the spark, about what is seen, what is understood. But what is beyond can never be captured by the mind. And she says, and why did she say this? Is because that is what you are in right now. You think you're in the world because you understand it. But in reality, you're in God. Okay? But you don't understand it, you can never understand it. Just because you don't understand it and you never understand it, don't think you're in the world. You are in a fraction of God that you understand. Okay? God is totality. What you understand and what you don't understand. What you see, what you don't see. What you experience, what you don't experience. The totality is God. And both the seen, unseen, understood, the beyond understanding, everything is in God. And you are in an experience where you see something that you understand and you think you're in the world simply because you understand it. But that which you understand is sitting in that which you don't understand. Like the toy in the have you seen the toy here while going to Mysore, that place? Chenpat. So you have this toy, wooden toy. So you take out the toy, there's another toy within it. And you take out that toy, there's another toy within it. So similarly, everything is in God. Okay? That which you don't understand, that which you understand. And you are in that. So Himalaya is trying to paint the picture to him that your actions and your desire is for this Bhagwan. Okay, so put your effort and surrender to him, surrender to this Bhagwan comes very naturally when you understand Bhagwan in this way. Bhagwan you cannot understand, but when in the effort to try to understand him, the surrender becomes so natural. Because the more and more you think about Bhagwan, the more the glories reveal themselves. Okay? It is very, very easy for the mind to surrender onto that which is grand and glorious. Okay? Because that's what it seeks. It's very, very easy for you. You'll not even think twice to be friends with, like, let's say, somebody who's very rich. If that person holds out his hand, you'll jump no matter what. In the same way, when the mind sees the glory of Bhagwan, the mind naturally dissolves. The mind surrenders. And she says this surrender is very important for you to realize the truth. So in this chapter, Hemalekha teaches Hemachura or gives him a discourse on Maheshwara, Bhagwan. And after listening to this discourse, now he bows down. He tells, you are no ordinary woman. Okay, the sages have trained you well. You are very knowledgeable. I thought you were just some ordinary village woman, but you are very intelligent, and I want to know more. Please tell me. Now he tells, now that you've told me about Bhagwan, I will put my efforts. I will be devoted to him. Now he recollects that story that she had told. Okay. He tells, please tell me, what is the meaning of that story? Okay. Then she tells him the meaning of that story. And she also instructs him how to go into meditation. He again goes back and finds he completely shuts down. He orders everybody not to disturb him, goes on a don't disturb mode, goes into meditation. And in meditation, he comes across various inner experiences. So the next session is all about that story and the inner experiences that he has and how he navigates through that and what kind of questions he has. So Tripura Rahasya goes into such detail. It not only gives you the step-by-step path. Hemalekha, the Dattatreya talks about through the story what kind of experiences the meditator goes through with graphic description. He'll see this light, he'll get this thought, then how the thought needs to be countered. So such step-by-step explanation is given in the coming chapters. So any doubts in this chapter?
Guruji,
Yeah.
this surrendering to the God, it is a surrendering is required to realize God.
See, liberation can happen in two ways. Atma Vichara or surrender. Okay. And these two are they're called direct path. Direct path is Atma Vichara is the teaching from the realized master. Maybe the master takes you, breaks down and destroys the ignorance step by step in the dialogue. Okay, that you're aware of. Then the other one is surrender. Okay, so Ramana Maharshi says these are two ways: surrender and Sharanagati and Atmajnana. So in Sharanagati, what happens is Sharanagati is because you have found maybe the enlightened master, or the mind is matured to such a level it just surrenders to divinity. No, there is no question. It just understands through whatever understanding is possible with the human mind. And even that surrender is happening because of gnana only, in a sense, that because the gnana has brought the mind to such a level that the mind sees the limitations of all paths, all processes, all perception, all creation. So it just lets offers itself to the divine. Okay, it's a natural happening. That's what is called surrender. So Sri Ramanujacharya called it as prapatti. Prapatti means the sharanagati to the feet of the Lord. So when in surrender, what happens is the mind now has left its center. It was on a center called I. I. Now that I is being replaced by D. Okay. So now whatever happens, anything that happens, it is thy will. In that process, the mind, the mind gets annihilated. What remains is thy alone. That is surrender. So you either you take the path of surrender or the path of Atmana. But surrender, the tricky part is even the surrender needs a lot. The true surrender to happen needs a lot of maturity and gnana. So when we say surrender to the Ishvara as a teaching, it's a path given to this person in this case. It's a path given. It's a confidence given that there is somebody much more powerful who's always overseeing you and who's taking care of everything. The same thing Krishna also tells, Sarva Dharman Parityeja, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. But when he says Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, he's already given the gnana of Mam, me. He's already shown the Vishwarupa Darshana. So for Arjuna, in that sense, it's effortless. It is only after gnana that Arjuna is able to, after the Vishwarupa Darshana, he is able to get devotion and he is able to surrender. Okay, now that she has already given him the teaching of Maheshwara, she tells, you surrender. So after gnana, it is the path of surrender. So what happens is, you've got Atmagnana. Atmagnana is, you've heard the teaching, somebody has heard the teaching. And I have understood, I have heard the teaching, Aham Brahmasmi, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. But still there is, something is missing. Okay? Then there is no more gnana to take that out. There's no more gnana. So what more gnana will give? Already the highest gnana is given. You're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the intellect. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Whatever can be told is told. Okay? Then the person comes back. Oh, still I understand it, but I don't realize. Now what more teaching can be given? Now the only teaching is, you have understood, right? Let go now. Just completely let go. Because there's still somebody trying to get something. I have got Vedanta Gnana. Now I will get realization. You have to understand, you can never get that. I can never get realization. When the I surrender, when the I dies, is surrendered, realization happens. And the I, the small I, the ego, letting go is surrender. And after surrender, there cannot be a question. After Atmana, there can be a further question. Okay, I've got the Gnana, but still I don't have experience of realization. But after surrender, surrender is final. Surrender is just, it's a deep dropping of the notion of me, I. Any doubt?
So surrender, as you said, it's like everything happens. Is it's a blessings of God, or it is His will. Is like, whether good happens or bad happens, anything happens, it is the will of the God,
Yeah, that
and
is
that's
in
where it
retrospect. So that is in for explanation purpose and in retrospect. But for the person who has surrendered, all this thought process don't rise. Something bad is happening, it's will of God. All that is from some for explanation purpose. For the one who has surrendered, that thought doesn't rise at all. His experience is perfection. His experience is, there is no doubt this is right, this is wrong. No, it's just perfect. Only when somebody is still there who tells, right, oh, something bad is happening, but I have surrendered to God. So this is, Ishvara wants to do this to me. All that thought process is not there. I is already gone. If the surrender has happened, the I is gone. Lord alone is left.
So there's some kind of like, there is a process of surrendering and surrendered.
Also surrender. Very nice. Ah. So in surrender, surrender can never be made a process. Gnana is a process, Prakriya is a process. Okay? Surrender is simply disconnecting, dropping, it's cut. So the example given in Shastras for surrender is there's a tree. Okay, there's a tree, there's a mango tree. And a crow comes and sits on the branch. Then the mango falls. You understand? Now, the question is, would the mango have fallen without the crow sitting? Or because the crow came and said the mango fell? The mango was ripe? What are the other conditions? Was there wind blowing? So this example is taken to explain surrender. So the mango has ripened from the inside. Okay, it's ripe. So when at the right moment, the crow, something happened somewhere. The crow sat on the branch, but because the mango is ripe, that much was enough for the mango to fall. Okay, so when the mind is ripe, it's ripe with the experience of life. Okay, ripe experience and understanding of life. Not only experience, because experience, everybody goes through experience. The experience doesn't ripen the person. Sometimes the experience can harden the person. Okay, most of the time experience only reinforces the ignorance and delusion that the person carry. That's why just because somebody is old doesn't mean they're wise. Somebody has gone through experience, okay, a lot of experience, maybe gone through war. Definitely they have a better understanding of how to navigate through life. But what is reality? They might be far from it, because those experiences would have reinforced their beliefs. Okay. Now what happens in surrender is somebody has, and this is only because of grace. Somebody, only because of grace, whatever they've done in the previous life or whatever, because of the grace of Ishvara alone, has ripened in such a way that they understand the limitations of life. Okay, they understand suffering, they understand life, they have gnana of what is happening, why they have question. There is a genuine questioning, thirst to find freedom. Okay, it's called mumukshatva. They have genuine mumukshatva. Then again, because of grace, there is gnana. Gnana, they meet a Sadguru, they get gnana. Then the mind has become ripe now with gnana. It has life experience and it has atmagnana. But still the individuality is not gone. But the individuality, now the grace operates in its last form. Okay, how is the grace operated so far? Like I told you, Shiva has 5 phases: creation, Shrishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Tirodhana, Moksha. In the same way, grace also operates in various levels. First is operates as external situations that will change you internally, that will ripen you, that will cook you. Okay. Then when you're at the right mental formation, the grace appears as master. Then the master gives Atma Gnana. If the person is very ripe, if it's a person it's called a Uttamadhikari. Okay? There's a Adhamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari. 3 types of disciples. If it's a Uttamadhikari who's very, very ripe, that moment of meeting, meeting becomes Gnana and surrender. Okay, like the crow sitting in the branch, it becomes that moment. This person is right, the master is the crow. That meeting becomes the final meeting. The ignorance drops. Okay, so much so the master doesn't even have to speak a word. It happened in the case of Dogen. So the Zen that we know, popularly Zen, was taken from China to Japan by a master called Dogen. So Dogen, he was in search of a guru. He wanted a enlightened master, Buddha. He went in search, and in China he found a Sadguru, his Sadguru. When he met his Sadguru, they both just sat looking at each other. After a few moments, the master said, "You're enlightened." Okay, just looking at each other, no speaking, nothing. The surrender, the gnana, everything has happened. Okay, actually there's no Atma Gnana transmission. What has happened is his mind is rested. Now I have come to my shore. Now I have reached the feet of the infinity. His gnana of that this person is a Sadguru led to his surrender. In that sense, gnana is required for the surrender to completely happen. So the crow, so this happens in the Uttamadhikari. Then there's a Madhyamadhikari. For the Madhyamadhikari, the grace unfolds in multiple ways. For the Madhyama and the Adhama, the master takes them through various prakriyas and teachings. So all this slowly, progressively give a sense of what Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, and then eventually the individuality somewhere drops, somewhere it falls, somewhere in this flow, somewhere it falls. Okay, so this is how the surrender happens.
So the sentence or the phrase which says you have to surrender, it's like one cannot surrender in that way. It just happens.
The ultimate surrender happens. Okay, but when one thinks that is the beauty, right? When one thinks he's the doer, the teaching is given to him, surrender. Okay, but if you don't give that teaching also, then you're misleading that person. When somebody has a notion that I am the doer, that's why she's telling Hemachura specifically, put your effort, surrender to the Lord. If you leave that as gap, if you leave that vacuum, okay, what will you do? You put the effort. If you tell don't surrender, but she's not just arbitrarily telling surrender. She's giving the gnana of who you're surrendering to. Okay, she's glorifying Maheshwara. She's giving the gnana of Maheshwara, and that gnana itself brings a natural devotion in. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, what is the chapter that follows Vishwarupa Darshana? The very next chapter after Vishwarupa Darshana is Bhakti Yoga. Because until bhakti, until Vishwarupa Darshana is given, Krishna doesn't talk about bhakti. Because what bhakti Arjuna will understand. But once Vishwarupa Darshana is given, Krishna doesn't have to speak about bhakti. Arjuna is already full of devotion. You understand? So this is the process. You surrender onto the Lord is a teaching given to tell the mind that there is something bigger running your life. Otherwise, the mind needs help. Mind is suffering. Mind is depressed. Mind is confused. Okay, mind has a lot of belief systems. Is it wrong to give another belief system to help the mind transcend some disempowering belief system?
Sorry, Guruji, could you ask the question? Please
So
again.
the mind is full of beliefs, right? So all sorts of beliefs are there about God, about me, our identity, about what is reality, what is life, what will life be. So mind is stuck in beliefs. Mind is nothing but beliefs. Okay, and that those beliefs create experiences for the mind. Now, in life, you encounter, because of grace, many, and not only a master, many places as well, where your beliefs sort of are shaken and a new empowering belief is given. Okay, and when that is given, the mind naturally accepts that, because that feels so, it feels like cooling water through the throat. It's still a belief, no doubt. It's just a belief. It's a simple thing, like somebody is suffering, you just tell, I'm there to support you, I'm there with you. That itself brings so much peace to the person. Okay, so here, when the teaching is given, surrender onto the Lord, it's a belief to the mind that yes, things can happen. There is grace operating, which is the reality which cannot be understood, but is told as a understandable statement. How that grace operates, how everything will change, how the mind will transcend, all that is, nobody knows. But the possibility that it can happen gives direction to the mind. Otherwise, the mind will go back into more and more delusion. So surrender is not surrender in that sense. When it is told to somebody who is rooted in body and action, is a uplifting teaching. But the true surrender, Sharanagati, is happening, and that surrender is equivalent to mukti. It has its own. It has a gradient. Like gnana has a gradient. Like gnana also has a gradient. The final gnana is Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Okay, but people cannot directly start with that. The final gnana is I am not the body. But people cannot directly start with that. So what is the starting point? Starting point is you do seva. You have a notion that you are the doer. You do seva to the Bhagwan. From I am doing seva, from and what is the gnana before that? You're in kamya karma. So from kamya karma, you're moving to seva, which is nishkama karma. Then through gnana, you're coming to naishkarmya. So that's the gradient. Same thing for surrender.
So in surrender, it is I'm the doer. Then it's like I'm not the doer. Then it is the glory of the God. Then automatically surrender happens.
In surrender only, it's all I. There's no thee. First is I. Only me. There is no thee. There's no room for anybody else. Then there's a further opening. There is a connection. There is a bhakti. Okay, and this bhakti is apara bhakti. It's not para bhakti yet, because there's no gnana. It is apara bhakti. Apara bhakti comes very naturally. Like naturally people get aparabhakti. Okay, there is somebody bigger than me. It's very evident, right? In world, there are so many things bigger than you. Okay. Just you step out on the street, you see, you always feel things are bigger than you. So the mind, there's a natural tendency in the mind is to recognize the bigger. So you recognize there is something bigger than me, God. You don't understand it, but there is something bigger than me. You have aparabhakti. Aparabhakti means you have some devotion, some respect, and that comes because of the cultural conditioning, your family and things like that. You go to temple, you pray. All that comes very, very spontaneously and naturally. Even for an atheist, at the time of everybody's a great atheist. Just when the aeroplane starts to shake, they start remembering God. Okay, it comes very naturally. The mind is very weak in that sense. It'll drop all its so-called notions and logic in 1 second to save itself. So the atheist will become the greatest believer in 1 second. It's when faced with death and destruction. So then the progress is aparabhakti, which is a easy path. Then if there's grace, some gnana happens. You meet a Sadguru. If you meet a wrong guru, then it's a big problem. If you meet the right guru, which is immense grace, then a lot of things, a lot of ignorance gets clarified just with the interaction. Like the study of Bhagavad Gita, right? One study of just the book called Bhagavad Gita will remove a lot of ignorance. You might not be able to appreciate it because you might not carry those kind of that kind of ignorance because of your upbringing and your family. But that's not the case with the world. Okay, people grow up with so much delusion about past life, about future life, about action, about God, about the nature of relationships, about war, about peace. So a lot of clarification is given with reading the Bhagavad Gita. And I'm taking the example of Bhagavad Gita because it's the most simplest and straightforward scripture and the highest. Then, because of the master, you get gnana, and the gnana is Atma-gnana is surrender and parabhakti, all three. So surrender, parabhakti, and Atma-gnana, in that sense, are the same. It's the final, and all of this will destroy ignorance. See, ultimately, what has to happen? You cannot get realization. You are that. Now, what you are, the only thing that the master can do is point out to you what you are not. And the pointing out to you what you are not is Atma Vichara, Vichara, Atma-gnana. Okay, and the point itself where you realize I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am that itself is Sharanagati, itself is Parabhakti, itself is Atma-gnana.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for surrender to happen, one needs to have the bhakti.
For surrender to happen, see, surrender is, so who are the elements in surrender? What are the elements in surrender?
Jivatma, Paramatma.
Jivatma, Paramatma. Real surrender is, in surrender, there is a gnana of Paramatma. There is Atma Gnana. Okay. Bhakti is still, there's a duality. You've already crossed that. Okay. You've come to a point where you are recognizing the reality as only Paramatma. And in saying the reality is only Paramatma, itself negates me. If Brahman is reality, that means whatever I say as I, that's why the statement Prabhuji makes is Nanu Nanembudu Nana. Whatever I think, I am not. First thing, I am not the body, then I am not the mind, I am not. It's negation, negation, negation. Then what I am is the pure consciousness. I am that. I am that Paramatma. But to say I am that Paramatma, who is this I who's saying I am that Paramatma? There's no I also in that sense. There's nobody who says I am Paramatma. Paramatma alone remains. That is the state of pure Gnana, pure Bhakti, pure surrender. No I.
For the one who starts in, say, the Vishishtadvaita, or, as you said, Ramanujacharya has started this Prapatti. So the one who starts there, then they need to have some jnana and the glory of God.
The question is not clear.
How does this, the Prapatti or surrender would help for one who, one who starts following Vishishtadvaita,
See,
or this concept of surrendering?
if to start following anything, it depends on who you're following. A competent master in any path can, and when I say competent master, I mean a realized master. A realized master who is that person's or your Sadguru in any path, regardless of any form of communication, will lead you to the truth. Okay. Prapatti is the path that Sri Ramanujacharya took. Atmagnana, Brahma Vichara is the part that Sri Shankaracharya took. Then Bhakti is the part that Madhvacharya took. So it doesn't depend on the path and the process. It's depend on who is navigating you through it. If the wrong person is navigating you through the path of surrender, then it's a problem. If the wrong person is navigating through the path of bhakti, then there's a problem. If a wrong person is navigating you through the path of gnana, it's a bigger problem.
So in Jnana Marga, Jnana alone is sufficient. In surrender, both Jnana and Bhakti is required.
No. Surrender is completing itself. And again, we're talking about gnana, and ultimately our realization is gnana alone. There is nothing else. Why this word surrender is bought? Even Sri Ramana Maharshi talks about it. He talks about there are two parts, surrender and gnana. They're not very different. They're the same thing, but spoken when he's communicating about it, it's telling him a different way. Surrender is gnana, gnana is surrender. There is no mukti without atmagnana. How can there be? That clarity in the intellect has to come, right? I am not this, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. Otherwise, still the intellect is getting diluted by beliefs. That gnana has to be lit. Only then there is mukti. Now, what is that mukti is told in another way with the word called surrender. What is that mukti? What is that mukti is the state of absolute surrender, where
So
there is no.
So ego giving up its identity is surrender.
Ego realizing that it doesn't exist. Ego realizing it's a false, it is shadow. Okay. Ego realizing self-destructing. Ego self-destructing is surrender, which is also gnana, right? Egocentric is you have put through vichara, you have put light on who am I. That who am I, you realize, oh, there is no, this I just appears and disappears, comes and goes. There is no entity called I, continuous entity called I. But there's a continuous pragna, a knowing principle. But that cannot be called I. It is knowing principle. That is just deep silence.
Thank you, Guruji.
So what is surrender is clear. The notion of the bhakti, the moment you say bhakti, it brings a picture of duality, right? Bhakta and Bhagavan. But that's not the case with surrender. Surrender is not, don't think of it, the moment you think about surrender, there's a mental image of surrendering, physically, some action, bowing down or something. That is not surrender. When in this context, when we're talking about surrender, surrender is that mango ripening, falling, the individuality dropping. Okay, how that happened, there might be, it maybe took a long time, but there's a surrender happened. It just happened. It is not a doing. It is not an action. It is not a thought. It is a happening.
Sure, Guruji. Thank you.
Any other doubts? So we'll take up surrender again exclusively another time, probably when we have more audience, and we'll see what surrender is. But in Tripura Rahasya, when Himalaya is saying surrender to the Ishvara, she is giving him confidence that you put your efforts, and there is somebody called Ishvara who is taking care, who is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer, who is all powerful, like you, like how you are above your subordinates, and when you're pleased with them, you, if they surrender to you, you take care of them. Very similarly, you surrender, if you want to be taken care of, you surrender to the Lord. Okay, so she's bringing in that she's enabling him to move forward. Okay, so that he takes the next steps of putting in the personal effort of sitting silently, sitting in isolation, observing himself, observing the body mind, Shravana, Manana, and Nidyasa. Okay, she's enabling him with this step-by-step approach. So Bhagavan Osho talks about one lady that he meets. So one lady comes from some other part of the world to visit him here in India, and he recognizes that she's enlightened, and he has a dialogue with her. He asks her, "What was your path? What path did you take?" So she says, and this is a white woman. She tells, "My only path was surrender. But I had a practice. What practice I had? I would bow down to everything. It doesn't matter who's in front, to anybody who's there. Okay? Is a good person, bad person, man, woman, child, rich, poor, doesn't matter. I will bow down. Okay? So in the process of bowing down, what happened? All the concepts, all the mental labeling stopped. Because anyway, I'm going to bow down. What is the point of labeling? The mind stopped labeling. Okay, the mind becomes silent just by the process of, which is actually the whole. This is a yogic practice called namaskar. Right? You bow down. So just by bowing down, and when you're bowing down to everybody, you can no longer reinforce the notion that I am better than somebody else. Okay. Then, if I am not better than anybody else, then everybody is better than me. There is no anger because I am bowing down to the one who is a persecutor also. I'm bowing down to anybody who comes in front. So there's no anger. All my emotions got washed out. I cannot have jealousy because whether I'm jealous or not, I bow down to them. Okay. So in my simple act of just bowing down to anybody who's in front, I lost all the mental games stopped. The mind became deeply silent. So much so that I didn't know when I even attained enlightenment. I just continued. Even now, I met you, I bowed down. But then Osho said you're enlightened. But that also didn't affect her. Oh, I'm enlightened now. Because it still doesn't matter. I will bow down. Okay. So what if I'm enlightened? But I will still continue to bow down. That is surrender. Now, what is the surrender? Is it the act? Somebody will bow down. Is that surrender? It's not the act. But in her sincere effort to become better, she chose some path, and that path led to a real surrender in her. Okay? The path itself became the grace for her. She's bowing down to anybody who comes, she bows down. Now, what happens in this process? When she bows down to somebody, does the other matter? The other and me both merge into divine. There is only recognition of divine. You understand? When I bow down, so when typically people bow down, they only bow down to probably elders, God, somebody better. They never bow down to anybody else. Okay, I will not bow down my head. I will not. मैं झुकेगा नहीं. Okay, but somebody who is जो झुक गया, one who is bowing down and who's bowing down to everybody. Now it doesn't matter who is there in front. Now only what matters is what is inside. There's only a divine experience. Okay, and that itself is surrender. Somewhere she lost the other and me. What remained is divine alone, a non-dual experience. Now, is it easy to do that? Is it easy to bow down to everybody? It's not. The mind will not allow you. But if you're able to do that, it only means that you have crossed over the processes of the mind. And somebody who can bow down to everybody, obviously the person is enlightened. There's no there's no individuality anymore. Only a no individual can bow down to everything. Simply because there is a recognition of divinity. A mind will break down divinity. This is divine, this is not divine. This is high, this is low. And then finally, to bow down to yourself. So in the Ashtavakra Gita, there's a chapter which starts. Ashtavakra Gita is a conversation between Ashtavakra, as an enlightened master, and Janaka Maharaja, who is the father of Sita. And Ashtavakra gives the Atma Gnana to Janaka Maharaja. Janaka Maharaja, he gets the Atma Gnana. In like few moments, he understands what he's saying. He gets the Atma Gnana, and the first thing that he says is, I bow down to myself. That is the first statement he makes. So you might think, oh, what audacity this person has that he's telling, I bow down to myself. Okay, I myself am great. It's not that. For him, he has now crossed over the limitations of, he's no longer stuck in identities. He's free from all identities. I bow down to myself. It means I recognize the divinity, pure consciousness.
But in that case, who is there to bow down?
Just because there is nobody to bow down, why not bow down? Nobody's there to bow down. But that doesn't mean the action has to stop. Did you get what I'm trying to say? In that case, who's there to speak? Who's there to bow down? Who's there to live? There's nobody there, but still everything continues. And Krishna says, surrender to me. There is no me. Okay? It's just a communication problem. What will he tell them? Because Arjuna doesn't understand silence. Whenever that pristine state is brought down to words, it can always be, they will always have some limitation. Okay, when he says I bow down to me, there is nobody there to bow down to anybody, but he's simply telling that I have now, whenever he uses the word I, when the Gnani uses the word I, it's very different from when the Agnani uses the word I. When an Agnani uses the word I, there's a center. It's always to do with the body, I. When the Gnani uses the word I, he uses with the awareness that it's a pointer. Okay? It is just a communication tool. And the reality is Brahman alone. Otherwise, how will the Gnani communicate? When Krishna says, surrender unto me, then that statement can be seen as, oh, Krishna is so egoistic. He's telling, surrender to me, I will take care of you. Okay, that's not the case. The me that Krishna is talking about and the me that you talk about are very different. Okay? But Krishna has to say, when Krishna says surrender to me, he's pointing, surrender to the totality, Parabrahma. When Janaka Maharaja says, I bow down to myself, the I who is bowing down is Brahman, the bowing is Brahman, the bowed down is Brahman. So what is that? Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. Brahmarpanam. The offering is to whom? Brahman. Brahmahavihi. The offered, whatever is offered is Brahman. Brahmagno. The fire is Brahman. Brahmagno, Brahmahavihi, Brahmanahutam. So what goes is Brahman. What is there is only Brahman. So the language is the same of the Gnani and the Agnani. But what the word implies are very, very different. The Gnani uses the language of the word, but what they mean when they use the words is very different. Clear, Shishadji?
Yes, Guruji.
Nothing is there, only Brahman is there. Brahman alone is the speaker, listener, spoken. Brahman alone is there. It's only a matter of recognition. Any other doubts? Okay, we'll take up the next chapter in the next session. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om
Hari Om
Guruji.
Guruji.
Thank you.
Hari Om.